United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If the secretary perform a roll call attendance, please.
Here.
Ms. Lasagna?
Here.
Mr. Frino?
Here.
Mr. Paranchico?
Here.
Mr. Maselli?
Here.
Mr. Flowers?
Here.
Mr. Angelos.
Yeah. Everybody's all rearranged, yeah. All right. Okay. All the board members have received the minutes from the June 19th meeting. If there's no discussion, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as written.
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion's made, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. All right. Okay, so our first item on the agenda this evening is a public hearing regarding site plan and special use permit for Chelsea Ridge wastewater treatment plant, an amended site plan.
Presents for you. So these are the two that we got no response from.
Yeah, I'll let him talk, yeah, speak a little bit.
Okay, so I'm Ted Johnson from Delaware Engineering, representing the Dawn Homes for Chelsea DHC for this project. I have some revised plans, I revised 2 sheets based on Mr. Budendorf's comments, most recent comments. So I brought small copies for you folks, if you would like.
Yeah, actually, you can just give them to the secretary this evening. Yeah, usually it has to be submitted ahead of the meeting so that we can, it can be, you know, distributed and
I
reviewed.
emailed them to her last week, but
Yeah. All right. I mean, basically, the reason, you know, we're really here tonight is public hearing.
Right.
Why don't you just give a brief overview of what we're talking about, and then we can open the floor for public comment.
so this is an overall project location map. And I bought a new cheap toy from Amazon for $10. So the wastewater treatment plant sits here, the existing plant. The apartment complex is all up in this area. And what we are proposing to do is to add additional tankage to the plant, a pump gallery, so we have redundancy in pumps and other equipment that is required in the operation of a sewer plant. because I mentioned last month when I was here, that when the plant was constructed in 2009, they didn't have any redundant equipment. They only had, two blowers, and they needed two blowers. They only had two pumps. They needed two pumps. So we're adding thirds. The tankage was designed so that it too was very tight. So we're adding additional tankage and splitting it. So if we have to work on half of the equipment, we can take that tank down, which we cannot do now. The operators can work on the equipment and still keep the plant running while they're doing that, instead of hanging over the soup, which is what they have to do now, literally.
Okay.
So the existing site, oops. Excuse me, touchpad impaired. So if you look at the existing site here, this is a building going around. There's a driveway that goes down the side, driveway that goes up this other side. So what we are proposing to do is to add, this is tankage right here, and then this is basically a partially below-grade building to house pumps and whatnot. So that goes just past the existing driveway, and then we're going to reestablish a driveway out to the side of that. And as I was asked previously, what's there, and I added to this set of plans. So there's an existing brush line, and then there's tree crown or canopy. The canopy will overhang the new driveway. We are not going, there's nothing back quite a ways into the woods of any substantial size. Certainly not 12 inches DBH, as your code requires, permission to cut. And the building actually will be down, it's a block building that sits up the existing building. This will be just above the level of the existing tank, and it will be cut into the hill that slopes down from north to south along the side of the plant, so that it really won't have much visual impact around there, and it's very isolated. If there's anything else you would like me to explain.
Okay. Briefly, does any of the board members have any questions before we open up the public?
Yeah, I just had a couple. Is there any issues with what's there now? Or
No, they do not have any violations. We're not increasing the speedies permit or the discharge permit. This is actually fairly rare for a privately owned sewer plant that, it's 14 years old, roughly. Sewer plants have a life expectancy of somewhere between 20 and 30 years, depending on design and how hard they're used. But they want to invest in this so that it goes another 20 years.
so there's like no increase in the flow or anything?
No increase in the
like that?
flow, and like I said, no increase in the discharge permit, the speedies permit. It's going to remain a MBR plant, a membrane bioreactor plant, which puts out very, very high quality effluent.
So that the discharge plant that's there, the retention pond, whatever you want to call it, the pond that's by it?
Yeah, so all the effluent that comes out that's discharged, it goes out into that pond in front?
It goes out right over here. There's a little stream that
So it goes
on
directly
the other
into
side of the driveway, and literally there's a sign there, which any sewer plant's required to have. It's a green sign, DEC permit, since
Right.
plant discharge with the permit number, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
So it's just that there's an 8-inch pipe that goes under the building, comes out to a manhole here, and goes down into the stream that's down here.
Okay.
How's that monitored? The
They
quality,
sample-
what's there?
The operators sample, they sample influent and effluent.
How often?
Well, there's an operator there, it's a contract operator, they're there daily, and they're sampling stuff. I believe it's once a month they're required to report to DEC.
Okay.
They're sampling.
Is this going to be a primary tank or a secondary tank in polyethylene?
It's a secondary tank, so what happens in the process is, there's a pump station down off the map, you can't see it. It comes into a room here, which has screening equipment in it. It gets screened. It goes to an aeration tank here, where it's aerated, and then we have, in the new thing, currently this tank that's here is a combination equalization tank. So if there's high flows, Super Bowl Sunday, et cetera, they can hold that and then move it over. It also doubles as an aeration tank. So if the flows are up or they need to work on the one aeration tank, they can use it. What we're doing in the change in the process is we're taking this tank, which has the MBR membranes in it now, and we're turning that into an EQ tank, an equalization tank, so that they'll have the capacity to hold quite a bit.
Sure.
How
And
many
again,
gallons? This one will still double as an equalization tank and an aeration tank.
how many gallons is this second tank? Is there a minimum requirement by the health department, being 1,500 gallons, or?
It's based on the flow, and to be honest with you, I don't have the flow number, the permitted flow numbers for the plant. It may be it may have it on the flash drive.
It's polyethylene, just like the original one?
They're concrete tanks.
Okay. Concrete tanks. The wood part is polyethylene that you said earlier. I thought you said polyethylene.
No,
No, there's sworn you said polyethylene. Okay, so it's a second concrete tank.
yes. So the existing tanks are concrete,
Okay,
and the new tank will be concrete. The building itself, the building portion is gonna be concrete,
okay,
because at the north end of it here, it's only gonna be about 3 feet above grade. So it's basically a retaining wall. And then as the driveway slopes down going south, there'll be walk-in access at this end of it.
oh, I see.
So the operator can just walk right in, but one of the things we try to do in sewer plants is have flooded suctions on the pump, so that the water level is always above the pumps, so you don't get airbound and whatnot. So all of the pumps that go in there for there'll be 6 pumps in that area. All of that will be below the water levels.
Right, below the well level, so you don't have to worry about. you
Right
don't
now,
have to
the
worry about
pump, right now, the
primary.
pumps are up on the finished floor up here, so they're above the tank. And they're these tiny little things that, they do lose prime on sometimes and whatnot, so we're putting larger pumps that, in that regard for the process.
All right. That's it? Okay, all right. Why don't we, if nobody else has any questions from the board, why don't we open up the floor to public comments?
Make a
So,
motion.
Make a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Okay. Motion's made, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, okay. So, is there anybody here from the public that wishes to speak on behalf of this application tonight?
All shaking their head no.
No? Okay. All right, so seeing none, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move that.
Second.
Okay, motion's made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. So why don't we, so while we're, back, we did have a, I know our planner's not here this evening, and he had very minimal comments anyway, with his last letter, so, just check with John, is there anything we need to discuss with the applicant tonight?
No, our comment letter of June 29th had 4 relatively minor comments listed. They did respond to those comments. We did get a copy of the responses last week, and I did have time to look at them before the meeting. It looks like they've addressed everything that we've asked for. So really the only outstanding items from an engineering perspective is getting their outside regulatory agency approvals.
Right.
DEC and the health department.
Okay, all right. Okay, so with that said,
So I will say that the engineer in charge of the project finally got, we'd submitted to the DEC
yep,
for approval, and he'd come back with some comments, and then that was the beginning of June, I think it was prior to the last meeting. And then he finally responded last week with some more technical questions, which have been answered. So we're still, and it's a young gentleman who's actually like an engineer in training for DEC, so he's got to check with his higher-ups. But he promised a review or an approval soon.
okay,
And what soon means in DEC land
yeah, I understand.
is all relative, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, I'll be honest with you, what I'd like to see tonight, as long as Mr. Bondorf is satisfied with our responses, is to you know, do a secret finding and perhaps get a conditional approval pending DEC approval.
Yeah,
So with respect to seeker, Malcolm had indicated he thought it was a type 2 action.
that's what I thought.
Yeah,
So it's
unsolicited
really,
action, and I have a copy of this letter.
Yeah.
They said there were no issues. You know, I took, when I left last month, I went back by the plant and took pictures of the trees.
right, yeah,
which
he
was
just,
his-
yeah, he was just verifying that you weren't gonna be taking out more vegetation
Right.
than what, you know, what was being kind of shown on the plan, and
Yep.
what type of vegetation, and not that there was large trees that were to be
Yeah.
taken out, right, so, yeah, and he did confirm that that was, you know, that there wasn't anything large coming out of there, where we had to worry about, you know, the DEC with, in terms of putting notes on the plan for trees, having to come down after
Right.
October.
Right, so we did put the notes on the plans.
Yeah, you put it on there anyway, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, based on I'm so used to seeing the long-eared bat issue when you can't cut trees in
yeah,
the wintertime or summertime, and this is a different bat. So we can cut trees this time of the year, but we can't do it in the winter
right, right, so,
for habitat.
yeah.
So I guess the one question with respect to, what's the square footage of the building addition?
The building portion is about 1,500 square feet,
So it's type 2.
and
Yeah.
the tankage is, well, each tank is 9 by 16, so, and 2 tanks. So it's, you know, we tried to keep it as compact, obviously, as we could, particularly given construction prices these days.
Yeah, Malcolm's letter indicates it's slightly over 1,300 square feet
Yeah,
for the plant itself, so.
Yeah.
right, yeah, I was just looking at his letter as well. Yeah, he has it all laid out on the proposal. And again, it was a type 2 action, so there's really no action that's needed to be taken by the board. And that's it, I said you get just a screening, but the screening, you're not taking anything out, other than,
Take it into the hill.
yeah, so there was no issue with the screening. All right. So what's everybody's feeling on the board with this? I think it's come down to pretty much just outside regulatory agencies that need to weigh in, so,
As long as engineering's fine with it.
okay.
I agree.
All right, so authorize, does anybody want to make a motion to authorize the planner to draft a resolution of approval.
Should we wait for the permits first from DEC before we do
No.
the resolution?
Now, so if the permits become conditional,
Okay.
so they're conditions within Malcolm's resolution, so that would be a,
DEC department.
all right, so then,
Right,
yeah, we have to wait.
We couldn't go in and get a
Right.
building permit.
You could be done with us,
Right.
but then you're not gonna get a signed approval until you pass through everybody else. So the planner, the engineer, and the attorney will have to sign off prior to you beginning work. And one of the things, actually, two of the things would be, the health department, Dutchess County Health Department's approval, and then as well as,
Okay, yeah, I
the
apologize.
New York State E DEC.
I remember from last month, I had a note because I had spoken to Dan Keeler at
Yeah.
Dutchess County Health Department, and his take on it was that if DEC is reviewing it, he doesn't need to review it.
Okay,
But there was also a note here to myself that I would send to DEC Communications to Mr. Buglow.
Would we need something in writing
Okay.
from the
Yeah.
health department
That,
saying that they don't need to review?
Yeah, I
it?
mean, if you could get Dan to just shoot you a quick
Yeah.
email and then forward that to me as well.
Okay.
yeah.
Or I mean, I could call him
Yeah.
too, but
You could just, confirm.
that's not unusual.
His take on it, and I think as I explained.
If they're gonna give you the permit, wouldn't that override the necessity for that? If you're gonna get the permit from the health department? Why would?
I think what he's saying is the health department is view on this, because the DEC regulates the plant, they're gonna
Right,
review
They're
it.
not gonna give a permit, if they give a permit, then you don't need that. Right?
It's not a permit, it's an approval. That's essentially,
Permit for a
Yeah,
second test.
So DEC, we run into this now, and it depends on counties and all of that. But I know, for instance, we're upgrading the Village of Fishkill wastewater plant right now. Sewer plants seem to have passed on to DEC. Collection systems and pump stations, which are part of a collection system, are still under the purvey of Dutchess County Department of Health. So, and when I talked to Dan, his take on it was, well, so, DEC kind of takes precedence over him in terms of approving the process that goes on within the plan. He said, I'm willing to review it, but I would just pass my recommendations on to DEC, if I had any. So that was sort of the crux of the conversation.
Okay.
So, I mean, I can contact him again, I'm happy to do that if that's what you want.
Whatever you could get, it's fine.
Yeah, if they just confirm, then,
Yep.
they could forward even an email to, to our engineer. And
Okay.
and then that gets taken off the list as a condition then at that point.
Right.
So we're just waiting upon technically the DEC then.
Right, because what the owner is trying to do is, obviously, they're trying to get construction contracts in place. They're working on contracts now, but a lot of this equipment has long lead times. And so they want to be able to issue purchase orders for equipment,
Yeah.
and as long as we're almost there,
Yeah.
they're
I
comfortable,
understand.
they're comfortable spending that money, that $1 million plus plus
Right.
dollars.
Yeah.
But if something's going to go south, obviously, they don't want to get ahead of themselves.
Right. Okay. All right. So back to the resolution.
I'll make that motion pending the approval of DEC and anything we need from Department of Health saying they don't need to review it.
Okay.
I'll second that one.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries.
So just for the record, the approvals, there's a site plan and special permit.
Sorry, yes. All right. So that's it for this evening then.
Okay.
We'll wait, and the planner will draft the resolution. You'll see that, and it will be placed on an upcoming meeting for a final vote.
Okay,
Okay? All right,
thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Good night.
Okay.
Did we close it?
Yes.
We did?
Did we? Yeah, we
Oh,
did.
the other thing I
Yeah.
just wanted to mention, the Town Fire Prevention Bureau, what was her name? Yvonne Tompkins did a thing, and there was a comment on her forum saying needs access for emergency equipment going around the building. I spoke with Howard Prager,
Yes.
and so the issue is on the, coming in off of Popular Boulevard, there's a gravel driveway, and then the other access is down by their maintenance building. Well, apparently the maintenance people put some logs across the road, the gravel driveway coming in from
Oh, okay,
Popular
yeah.
Boulevard, just to keep people out of there.
Okay.
They have signs saying, you
Yeah, I
know,
saw those, yeah.
unauthorized access, not allowed, blah, blah, blah. So the owner spoke to the staff there and I checked tonight, and there's nothing blocking the entrance.
Okay.
And he was fine with that, and they were fine if they want to block the entrance, they'll put in a gate with a Knox box on it or whatever for fire access, so that there's two different directions they can access.
Okay.
For
Right, for emergency access,
fire,
yeah.
for
Yeah.
emergency access. So I just wanted to mention that, just.
Okay.
Because he was nice enough to send that to me too. So. But the owner was more than happy to address that issue. The owner's rep, and she was kind of like, they did what?
Yeah. No, I can understand. It was a dumping ground for quite a while, so,
Yeah.
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 Okay.
All righty.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Pete.
All right, so with that,
Make a motion to close?
okay, motion's made. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion made. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We're adjourned.